It's a pattern, and if you don't, then you're just going to keep doing it.
Well, we presented it as this is what happened, but we definitely have we hope people get that lesson that let's not do what happened before and what's happening now sometimes.
What are some of those main lessons you feel that we can learn from that era?
Well, I think the Mattachine Society breakup is a big one. I want you to tell me. You're better at expressing.
So the big word, I think the
words are bad for me.
The parallel is that the Mattachine Society, it's a parallel story. It's not like an equivalent,
Right.
but in Mattachine what happened was that several members of the Communist Party, or communist sympathizers, were organized a very underground gay group to create a community, but it was kind of an underground thing. And they actually had some success, and one of their members who was entrapped, they actually fought the charges, and he admitted in court that he was a homosexual, which had never been done before. If it had, it hadn't registered like this case had. And they won, and all of a sudden people came out of the woodwork to join this little tiny meeting that was taking place in someone's living room. And chapters formed across the country, and there was this great momentum and movement. And when that happened, the tent gets bigger, and there's a lot more ideas inside of it, and people were afraid. They thought they were pushing too fast, they were pushing too quick, they were too visible.
They were doing things like sending questionnaires to politicians saying, entrapment's happening, how do you stand on it? In like 1953, 52, and at that time that was like too radical for a lot of people to even do something like that.
So these two camps basically formed, which in sort of the historical record, a lot of people will call it the assimilationists or the conservatives, and the true original founders of Mattachine. And the more assimilationist group took over Mattachine, and their movement became known as the homophile movement. And the lesson, I think, is sort of that instead of trying to come together and maybe not necessarily agree on everything, but find a way out together.
Or both voices can be heard.
They split and they went their own ways, and a lot of progress that could have happened didn't happen, or it took longer to happen because of that. And we see that today with the 2010, 2012, whatever it is. I mean, the other side is just laughing, and they're so excited and they're so happy that we're destroying ourselves, rather than coming together and trying to find the right way to move out of this. And so it's true, like you said, I mean, any community has its struggles internally, and you have to find a way to come together. But this story is repeated over and over and over in every sub-community within the community. So.
2010, 2012 kind of comes together. I don't really understand.
Right? Isn't that weird? That's our thing, right? There's people that have very much just said it has to be this way, and any sort of that stubborn my way or the highway sort of thing isn't going to bring us all together.
Well, 2010 is the next governor.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the next election we could do it.
You could bring Prop 8 back to the ballot.
Right.
12 is the next presidential, right?
Right. So, and there's pros and cons.
Are you debating on the level that we want to be visible, just on a statewide level, or do we want to be visible with the national, presidential? That was a debate.
There's all sorts of points of view, and it's a matter of how we can get them to work together towards the common goals that they have. They might not necessarily have everything in common, but getting them to work together.
Well, it's too late to get on the 2010 ballot, isn't it?
No. They're working. There's a faction
probably
working to get
right.
signatures.
And then they submitted language for the proposition.
By the end of this year, right?
I think you can get
There's
it
a certain amount of
on
date. I don't know all the.
spring of next year. I think you can collect the signatures, if I remember. Because
They're actively working on collecting.
Prop 8 didn't qualify until just the springtime of.
Right.
It qualified after the Supreme Court ruled favor of things like that.
I wonder if looking back again at that era, if there's room to have those two different sides, one maybe the extreme side, the one that want to shout and scream in the face, and the one that wants to be more quiet, and have them both sort of working together and both coexist.
Yeah.
That we could have the 2012 and we could have the 2010, and the 2012 one can be the more, we're the Washington folk, and then the 2010 ones can be the ones that are out there in the streets.
Absolutely, and I think that's part of this history is every person has their own way of achieving their progress in the world, and some people are gutsy and bold and they take to the streets, and that's awesome, and then there's other people who need to take the baby steps, and you have to respect that too. And I think some of our elders who were part of this movement look back and they have very, very, very opinionated viewpoints on that one is the wrong way and one is the good way, and I think they both have their pros and their cons, and I think both deserve respect because they both contributed to where we are today.
Basically, if somebody's doing something and you don't agree with it, if it doesn't actually affect you, there's no reason to go after them. I'm sure you guys have had these conversations in your own circles where there's somebody who's gay and it's like, oh, those drag queens, I wish they wouldn't, blah, 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 blah. And it's a matter of, we of all communities should respect how other people express themselves and what's right for them and what's right for you. So and when you have that on a movement base, it's tough, but it's something that we need to learn how to do.